Hey everyone, it's Robin, R. Silent Crafts, and welcome to my studio. This is my WiP It Wednesday video where I'm going to show you the crafty goodness that I've been working on this week. A huge thank you to everyone who hung out with me on Saturday for the live stream, and for everyone that came back later and watched the replay. I had a lot of fun. I always have fun when I'm hanging out with you guys. This time I was a little bit of a chatty Cathy, and I was just ready to hang out and do some sewing. Now, I know live streams are a little bit different on every channel. On my channel, I am actually sewing usually or doing something while hanging out with you guys. I was working on my scrappy rectangle string blocks using a common white center string, and then I was using those leftover bits of basically, we'll just say a jelly roll. They're 2.5-inch strips from Connecting Threads from 2009. I also have the tutorial that was put up on Friday if you want to see how I made these. When you're watching one of my tutorials or hanging out with me on a live stream, you really never know what might come out of my mouth at any given point, and I do delete a lot of it, but I try to leave in little tips and tricks, and they just kind of pop up throughout the video wherever it happens to work for what I'm doing. So let me show you what I have. I'm also going to put a picture up here before I show you each individual board. Now, just a little heads up, I haven't vacuumed my room yet today. If you see that my carpet isn't perfectly clean, shh, don't tell anyone. So here is 9 of them. Now on Saturday, we worked on 10 from start to finish, and it was like a 2-hour live stream. And I think that's pretty good because during my live streams, there's a lot of chatting going on most times. Sometimes I'm a little quieter than others. I am a bit of an introvert, so sometimes I really just don't have anything to say or feel like talking. But a lot of us also sew along with me, whether you're working on these blocks or your own project, or you take me when you're doing your chores or out in the yard, because summertime's coming eventually, right? It's got to get here. Please tell me summertime's coming. I know a lot of you are waiting for the warmth of spring and summertime. So sometimes things just get left in chat. I miss people when they ask questions. Other people in the chat catch it, or my moderators. I almost said my monitors. I guess it's the same thing. A lot of times other people in the chat, when they look up from their project, will catch it. And when I miss a question, someone or a moderator will let me know that I missed a question so that I can answer them. So I always apologize if I've missed something. If something happens in the live stream, you ask a question, it never gets answered, just go ahead and shoot me an email. And just know that I'm really sorry for missing it. But I tend to put my head down when I'm sewing or cutting fabric and stuff. And I sometimes forget to look up. But here is, we'll just call this part 1. This is the basic layout I think that I'm going to do. I mean, I can do just all in one direction, one row, and all in direction the other row, but I think this is what I'm going to go for. So here is panel 1. We can call it a panel. It's on my design boards that I have not put any binding on yet. I did find my scrap pack of the red Heat and Bond non-sew stuff. So we'll see how many I can get done with that. It's a leftover of a pack from the tutorial video, so I think I should be able to get a few done, if not all of them. So here is the next one. Now you've seen these all laid out. I have 3 of these 9 block sections, which then means I have 27 blocks done. I still haven't done the math, what size lap quilt do I want, how many blocks I need. I will get to that soon so I can go ahead and make sure I set up all of the paper foundations with the white strip on it. And that way I'll know when I'm done with the papers are all gone, then I don't need to make any more blocks. Now this is definitely not the layout. There's a lot of blue touching in really close together here. Not that I'm really going to worry about it, because this is just going to be covering me up while I'm sitting in my chair and I'm doing some crochet, some knitting, or I might even be able to do some hand embroidery. I find I can get a lot of string blocks done in a small amount of time if I have the pre-work done. If I have my foundations already cut, if I know what I'm going to do, like if I'm going to put a white strip down the center, a black, or whatever I want to do. It does look really sharp when you have a black strip down the center, but I thought for those blocks they really needed the brighter white than the darker black, because some of them are already a little bit darker, muddy, and the white will help brighten it up a little bit. and then also having your strips pre-cut and ready to go. I've learned by doing the string blocks in the past that if I just bring all my scraps in and I have to cut strips as I'm sewing, that I don't get that much done and I get frustrated. So if I do that work ahead of time and I go ahead and I cut all of my strips ahead of time, doesn't matter what the width are, because sometimes you can just have a variety just to fill in that space. And then it just goes a lot quicker on the sewing, no brain, don't have to think about it kind of days. While I have this sitting right here, I wanted to show you, I don't know that I showed you this card or not. This came with one of the community quilt blocks and it is all handmade. Now I'm not sure if that's done like on an embroidery machine, a sewing machine or what, but either way, it's all thread on there and it's really pretty. And then it just has a piece of red paper that's covering it up so that you don't see all the stitches on the inside. That makes the cards look so much neater. So I think whenever you do a card like this, you should sign your name and the date on the back of it, like 2024 or something like that. That way people always know, even though it's signed on the inside, but this is like saying, oh, Hallmark made this. Nope, so-and-so made it. And I think that's just a really great idea to do. So this is going to go into my handmade card collection. I keep that with my... I don't think it's going to stay there. I keep the handmade cards with the fabric postcards I received until I get the fabric postcards up on the wall. I did buy a step ladder so I can start working on my closet and actually utilize the shelves and get things a little cleaner. And then I'll also be able to start hanging up some things all around here. Like underneath the clock right here, that's just calling for a mini quilt. And I think I have the perfect one to go there, or a couple mug rugs or some fabric postcards. I don't need to put the fabric postcards all like together. They would be awesome together, but I also don't mind, tucking them in various places to fill in the gaps. Speaking of community blocks, I have received another set. Now these two both came from the same person, and I love that they used the crumb blocks for the orange right here. Thank you so much for sharing some of your orange fabrics with me. Then we have this one, and it almost looks like an eyeball to me. See how that has the center with, it's a flower with all of the lines coming out. When I bring it back a little bit, it kind of looks like an eyeball. And they also shared some of their scrappy and just the scrappy orange flying geese blocks so that I can use as fillers. So if need be, I can have, say this block was larger than this block, or there needed to be just a little something something. And look, it fits perfectly in there. So that would be a nice, fun little divider. So I will be adding those and also some hourglass blocks and other things. And then the flying geese, yep, perfect size also. And there it goes. This is one of my favorite orange fabrics. I had a fat quarter of this and I just love it. I love anything that is a color, that reads like a color, and that has a lot of different geometric designs or movements. And I'm sorry, I just don't know where to put my face. Since I have the microphone right here, I need to make sure you guys can hear me. So thank you so much. Always keep an eye out on the community tab here on YouTube. I will be posting the pictures of these as they come in, plus the link to the post on Patreon that I have pinned to the top of my Patreon group. And you'll be able to see those whether you're a patron or not. And you can follow my Patreon as a free member. Sometime during this year, I will be putting out some things for the free members, little sneak peeks at things and stuff like that. So you guys would be able to see that. So thank you to everyone who joined as a free member, and of course to all of my patrons. Now, my patrons and I worked on a project, of course. I thought it was really interesting that once again I used the white strips to go inside of these blocks. Now, we have worked on a project like this before. Make sure you guys can see. There you go. We've worked on a project like this before, but we did it just a little bit differently. This time, each of sides of those white strips is different. And if you can see, they are all from a charm pack of sewing notions. There you go. I used the Sewing 101 charm pack from RJR Fabrics. This was designed by Jamie Fingal. And it doesn't have a variety, like this is all of the fabrics that you can see here. So there are, each fabric has like different colors, like the buttons are different colors, and then you have a sewing thread and sewing tools, rotary cutters, pins, and things like that. It's much easier to see here. And then it also has these fun things here that are like sewing or embroidery, or, you know, like you do the hand embroidery and stuff like that in the hoops. So you can see that in a variety of places. Now I'm going to be turning this into a wall hanging, and I think I'm going to make a second version and use a different layout so it doesn't have like these X blocks on here. I was playing around and I did an oopsie, and I saw it was a really fun version with the zigzags. So I'm going to see what that looks like, and I'll probably make a second one so I can use up more of these fabrics. And then if you guys want to have a little sewing mini quilt to go into your sewing room, I think it would be really cute to have one of these hanging up on the wall. So you can just have that up by wherever you're sewing, and it would add some fun, colorful little bits to your sewing space. Using charm packs makes projects so much faster. Not just the fact that they're pre-cut, but they're pre-organized, pre-made to go together. Everything in here is meant to go with everything in here. So if you just took a charm pack, we were talking about this during the live stream. If you want to make your first quilt and you want to make something, maybe instead of doing a full-size quilt, I had to lean down and get it. You just make something small like this, a little wall hanging. And remember, we will be starting doing working on our pillows pretty soon. I need to sit down and write down a schedule. This is what I'd like to work on this month, and this is the days that we're going to work on it, so I can stay nice and organized, and I won't sit here and go, I have so much to do. What should I work on today? I haven't gotten back into writing my lists. My lists are not very detailed or anything on here, and really it's what's written on here is not even anything to do with sewing or YouTube or anything like that. So I really need to get back into making my daily and weekly lists so I know what I'm doing and I don't waste time just sitting here watching other people's YouTube videos when I could be creating something. So anyway, you can take charm packs and sew these together. You can just take one charm pack or several. There are numerous designs on Pinterest, from really simple, how to use a charm pack, sew them all together in like a grid, or how to do things with charm packs, and then you can make quilts. So for a very beginner friendly thing, pick up a couple of packs of these, sew them all together in a way that pleases your eye, and then quilt it, and you'll have a lap quilt for yourself, or just a simple pillow. That'll give you enough of the skills and testing out your skills on how to make a quilt or a quilted item without trying to make a king-size quilt that might take you an entire year before you get it all done, and you might stress out so much you never finish it. But by taking pre-cuts like this, or even the layer cakes that are 10-inch squares, you could do a large bed quilt with the bigger ones and then get it all done. And it's a really great way because you don't have to figure out what fabrics need to go together. What shade of red should I put in here? Should I add a blue in? Nope, just take all of the charm squares and there you go. So there's my advertisement for why you should purchase charm squares and use them. I never used to purchase them, but the price is really reasonable most time for them, and I just really enjoy sewing with them. So let me know down in the comments. Scrappy word of the day is charm pack. How do you feel about charm packs? Do you use them, or do you just like to collect them because the fabrics are so pretty? Now, I have a small container underneath the table here, right there as a matter of fact, and in it is my charm packs, and I look at some of them and I'm like, oh, but those look so good together. You know, there's like, I have two of these, so I could use up one. But what if I wanted to make a bigger project and I would need to? Then I used up one. And it's just one of those things that sometimes it's hard to cut into. But I cut into this one, so to speak. I opened it up and I made what I think is a really fun and cute little mini wall hanging with plenty left over to make a second. And since I have a second bundle, I could go ahead and make 3 or 4. I could just sew these together. Again, just sew them together and then it would be done. I wouldn't even have to cut them and worry about anything else. So those of you who have sent into community blocks, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing your fabrics and your time and your talent with me. I have a stack of fabric postcards to go out as a little thank you to everyone. I hope you guys enjoy them. If I haven't shown your block, it doesn't always stay stuck, especially when you're stacking 4 or 5 of these together. But if I haven't shown your blocks yet, and you're wondering if I received them, please let me know, because all of the ones I've received are over on my Patreon page, and all the pictures are listed there with the first name and last name, unless someone requests that I don't do it. And if I have put your name up and you requested that I didn't, I'm really sorry. Just let me know and I'll go ahead and just erase your name off of there. Someone did something really interesting that I'd like to just let you know. I don't have the block here, it's there, and I don't want to show someone's name or anything if they don't want, but it has like the state that they're from and everything. But what they did is with a little thin Sharpie marker, I'm going to guess, is they wrote their name right here in the little seam allowance on one of their spots right here, and they put like Robin RS Island Crafts, and then they put like Surprise Arizona. And I thought that was one of the smartest things. I totally forgot about doing that. We used to do that in swaps like years and years ago. Sometimes we would sign our name right here, and other times we would just put it right here in the little seam allowance. And I want to thank you so much for reminding me about doing that. I might go through, I saved everyone, I know who did what. I have their addresses, and I saved pictures to match the names and everything like that. So I might go back through and just add your name onto the seam allowance, even if it's just like Robin L, because my last name is Lalone. You guys all know that. So I might just go ahead and put that on there, and your city and state, so it's within the quilt and it'll always be there. Now, yes, it's going to be quilted and no one's going to see it. But as I'm just doing this and I'm having it, I'm like, oh, wait, where is, Robin's block? In my family, we always used the mystical person, Sally. Oh, where's Sally's block? Oh, I don't remember. Pull out my phone, look through all of my pictures and the pictures of the blocks. But this way I can just look at the back and go, oh, Sally made this one. Thank you so much, Sally. My apologies. I know you're not Sally. Or are you? One will never know. You'll know when you see it over on the Patreon page. So that was just a little tips and tricks. You never know when they're going to show up in my videos, right? So thank you for that reminder. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and for taking the time to be here. I uncovered my little table here. Just a last minute thing I wanted to show you. I found this table in Cape Coral. It was just like 5 houses down at the end of the road. It was at the side of the road for trash. It is a mid-century table, so it's about 1950-ish. I think when I looked it up, it might be 52 or 55 or something like that. But you see this part right here that's hanging down? I'll add a little picture here, but you can lift these sides up and it turns into a nice little round table. It's a little high for a coffee table, but I'm going to be using that table in front of my chair. I don't need to put my feet on. I laugh because right now I have some plastic tubs, as you might have seen in front of my chair in one of my previous WiP It Wednesday videos. I put my feet up on the tubs. I have wide tubs and then skinnier tubs, and I just put my feet right in the middle. So I mean, who needs a table or a footstool or whatever, an ottoman? I just use the plastic bins. But that's my eventual, and then I want to put a quilt on the top here. I want to have just a rectangle skinny quilt, and then I want to also make some round ones, so if I want to like bring up the table. It all depends on how much space it takes in the up position, because I bruise easily and I bump into everything, so we'll see. All right, that's it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.